Do you ever feel like you're living someone else's life? Like you're going through the motions, checking all the boxes, doing everything you're supposed to do, but still feeling empty inside? You're not lazy. You're not ungrateful. You're not broken. You're just distracted from what actually matters. Welcome to Page-Wise. Today we're diving deep into a book that might just change everything. Find Your Fire, Discovering Purpose in a World of Distractions. This isn't another self-help book promising you'll find your passion in 5 easy steps. This is the honest truth about why 72% of people feel their life lacks direction, and what you can actually do about it. Here's what's really happening. You're living in a world specifically engineered to keep you distracted. Every app, every notification, every endless scroll is designed by the world's smartest psychologists to capture your attention and never let go. The average person checks their phone 150 times a day. We consume the information equivalent of 174 newspapers daily. We're interrupted every 3 minutes during work. And in all that noise, you've lost touch with what you actually want, what you actually value, what would make your life feel meaningful. The number one regret of the dying? I wish I'd had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. Not, I wish I'd worked more. Not, I wish I'd played it safer. But, I wish I'd lived my life. In this complete audiobook you're going to discover why you feel so disconnected, and it's not your fault, the exact framework for identifying your unique purpose, not someone else's, how to cut through the noise and hear your own voice again, the Ikigai method, where passion, skill, contribution, and income intersect, real strategies for overcoming the fear that's keeping you stuck, how to design a daily life that actually reflects what matters to you, and the truth about living with intention in a world designed for distraction. This is about reclaiming your one wild and precious life. You'll hear real stories of transformation, the corporate lawyer who became a wilderness guide, the marketing executive who found her fire had been burning all along, she just couldn't see it through the noise. The engineer who discovered meaning through art. These aren't special people with rare gifts. They're people like you who decided to stop sleepwalking and start living intentionally. If you're tired of living on autopilot, if you're ready to stop optimizing for other people's definition of success and start living your truth, if you're done waiting for the perfect moment that never comes, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. Because this audiobook is going to challenge everything you thought you knew about purpose, success, and what it means to live a meaningful life. The fire is already inside you. It's been waiting. Let's uncover it together. Let's begin. Introduction: the crisis of meaning. There's a particular kind of exhaustion that has nothing to do with how much sleep you got last night. It's the exhaustion of waking up and not knowing why, of going through the motions, of checking boxes on someone else's list, of feeling busy but not fulfilled, productive but not purposeful. If you've ever laid in bed scrolling through your phone, feeling simultaneously overwhelmed and empty, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you've ever achieved something you thought you wanted only to feel nothing, you understand this crisis. You're not alone. We're living through what experts are calling a meaning recession. A collective crisis of purpose in the midst of unprecedented comfort and opportunity. Consider these statistics. A 2023 study found that 72% of people feel their life lacks clear direction. Another survey revealed that 61% of working professionals feel their job has no meaningful impact. Depression and anxiety rates have doubled in the past decade, with experts citing lack of purpose as a primary contributing factor. We have more choices than ever before, more information at our fingertips, more opportunities to connect and create. Yet we've never been more distracted, more scattered, more unsure of what actually matters. The distraction epidemic. Let me tell you about Sarah. At 32, she had everything she thought she was supposed to want. A well-paying marketing job at a prestigious company, a nice apartment, a healthy relationship, an active social life. On paper, she was winning. But every Sunday night, she'd feel a crushing dread about Monday morning. Every day at work felt like she was sleepwalking. Every evening, she'd numb herself with Netflix and wine, scrolling through Instagram looking at other people's seemingly purposeful lives. I have no right to complain, she told me. I'm privileged. I should be grateful. but I feel like I'm playing a character in someone else's story. I don't know what my story even is. Sarah's crisis isn't unique, it's universal. We're more connected than ever but feel more isolated. We're more informed but more confused. We have more entertainment options but less genuine joy. We're achieving more but feeling less fulfilled. The problem isn't that we lack ambition or capability. The problem is that we're living in a world specifically designed to keep us distracted from the questions that matter most. What do I actually care about? What would make my life feel meaningful? What legacy do I want to leave? What would I regret not doing? These questions require quiet reflection. But we live in a world that's engineered to prevent quiet reflection. Every moment of potential silence is filled with notifications, news feeds, content, noise. What this book will do for you. This isn't another self-help book promising you can find your passion in 5 easy steps. Purpose isn't found, it's forged. It's not discovered in a moment of sudden clarity while meditating on a mountaintop, though that might help. It's built through intentional exploration, honest reflection, and committed action. This book is a practical, step-by-step guide to cutting through the noise to hear your own voice, identifying what genuinely matters to you, not what you think should matter, designing a life aligned with your deepest values, building systems that keep you connected to purpose even in the chaos, taking meaningful action despite fear, doubt, and distraction. You'll learn from people who've made this journey: the corporate lawyer who became a wilderness guide, the successful entrepreneur who walked away to teach, the stay-at-home parent who found purpose in community organizing, the engineer who discovered meaning through art. But more importantly, you'll learn about yourself. You'll gain clarity on what lights you up, what drains you, and what you're willing to sacrifice comfort for. You'll develop a personal definition of success that has nothing to do with what society expects and everything to do with what makes you feel alive. How to use this book. This isn't a book to read passively. It's a workbook, a guide, a companion for the most important journey you'll take, the journey to living intentionally. Each chapter contains core concepts grounded in psychology, philosophy, and neuroscience, real stories from real people navigating the purpose journey, practical exercises and reflection questions, action steps you can implement immediately. I recommend reading with a journal nearby. The questions will challenge you. Some answers will come easily. Others will require days or weeks of reflection. That's okay. This is important work. It deserves time. You don't have to quit your job, sell your possessions, or move to Bali to live with purpose, though you might choose to. Purpose isn't about dramatic transformation. It's about intentional alignment. It's about making daily choices that reflect what you value most. A personal note. 10 years ago I was drowning. Successful on the outside, empty on the inside. I had the career, the income, the apartment, the relationship. I also had crippling anxiety, persistent depression, and a nagging feeling that I was wasting my one precious life. The turning point came on an ordinary Tuesday. I was sitting in a conference room, half listening to a presentation about Q3 projections, when a thought stopped me cold. I could die today, and the thing I'd be most remembered for is this presentation. And I don't care about any of it. That realization terrified me. It also liberated me. The journey from that conference room to writing this book wasn't linear or easy. There were false starts, mistakes, periods of confusion and doubt. But somewhere along the way I found it, not a singular purpose but a way of living that feels aligned, intentional, meaningful. I wrote this book because I believe you don't have to wait for a crisis to start living with purpose. I believe the quiet desperation so many of us feel is actually a compass pointing toward something better. I believe that beneath all the noise and distraction, you already know what matters to you. You just need help listening. Let's begin. Chapter 1. Understanding Purpose. What purpose actually is and isn't. Let's clear up some misconceptions about purpose, because the confusion around this word creates paralysis. Purpose is not a single grand mission that defines your entire life. Something you find in one revelatory moment. The same as your career or job title. Something everyone has except you. Fixed and unchanging throughout your life. Only available to special or talented people. Purpose is the intersection of what you care about and what needs doing. something you cultivate through exploration and action. The feeling that your life has meaning and direction. Available to everyone willing to look inward honestly. Something that evolves as you evolve. Found in small daily choices as much as big decisions. Let me share a story that illustrates this distinction. Marcus spent 5 years searching for his purpose. He read every personal development book, attended seminars, hired coaches. He was looking for the revelation, the moment when his singular life mission would appear in neon lights. Meanwhile, he was volunteering at a youth center on weekends, teaching kids basic coding skills. He didn't think much of it, it was just something he enjoyed, a break from his unfulfilling corporate job. One day, a student he'd been working with for months successfully built her first app. The pride on her face, the confidence in her voice as she explained what she'd created. Marcus felt something shift. Not a revelation but a recognition. This mattered to him. This was meaningful. Not because it was grand or world-changing, but because it aligned with what he valued: education, empowerment, sharing knowledge. He realized he'd been looking for purpose, capital P, while living purpose, lowercase p, all along. The volunteering wasn't a distraction from finding his purpose. It was an expression of it. The 3 components of purpose. Research in positive psychology identifies 3 essential components of purpose. 1. Personal meaning. Purpose must be meaningful to you, not to society, your parents, or your Instagram followers. It's deeply personal and may not make sense to others. A woman named Elena found purpose in creating elaborate scrapbooks documenting her family history. To some, this might seem trivial. To Elena, who grew up not knowing her heritage, preserving and sharing family stories was profoundly meaningful. That's what matters. 2. Future-oriented goals. Purpose involves working towards something beyond immediate pleasure or comfort. It's about contribution, growth, legacy, something that extends beyond the present moment. This doesn't mean sacrificing current happiness for future achievement. It means your actions today are building towards something you care about tomorrow. 3. Impact beyond yourself. Purpose almost always involves some form of contribution. To other people, to a community, to a cause, to the world. This doesn't mean you have to solve global poverty. It means your purpose connects you to something larger than personal gratification. A teacher finds purpose in shaping young minds. A parent finds purpose in raising thoughtful children. An artist finds purpose in creating beauty that moves people. A chef finds purpose in bringing people together over meals. None of these is better than the others. They're all ways of contributing something valuable. Why purpose matters? The science. This isn't just philosophical fluff. Living with purpose has measurable effects on your health, happiness, and longevity. Physical health. People with strong sense of purpose have 30% lower risk of mortality. Better cardiovascular health and lower risk of stroke. Stronger immune systems. Better sleep quality. Lower rates of chronic disease. Mental health. Significantly lower rates of depression and anxiety. Greater resilience in face of adversity. Higher life satisfaction and overall well-being. Better stress management. Lower risk of cognitive decline and dementia. Performance and success. Higher career satisfaction regardless of income. Greater persistence when facing obstacles. More creativity and innovation. Better decision-making. Increased productivity and focus. A landmark study followed 6,000 people over 14 years. Those who reported a strong sense of purpose were 2.5 times less likely to develop Alzheimer's, 52% less likely to have a stroke, 46% less likely to die during the study period. Purpose isn't just nice to have, it's essential for thriving. The purpose paradox. Here's where it gets interesting. You can't find purpose by directly seeking it. It's like happiness. The more desperately you chase it, the more elusive it becomes. Purpose emerges through action, not contemplation alone. You discover what matters by trying things, paying attention to what energizes you, noticing what problems you can't stop thinking about, observing what you do even if no one paid or praised you. This is why so many people feel stuck in analysis paralysis. They're trying to figure out their purpose through thinking alone, when purpose reveals itself through doing. Think of it like this. You can't figure out your purpose from inside your head any more than you can learn to swim by reading about swimming. At some point, you have to get in the water. Different types of purpose. Purpose isn't one size fits all. Here are some common purpose archetypes. You might identify with one or combine several. The creator. Purpose comes from making things, art, businesses, products, solutions. The act of bringing something new into the world. The nurturer. Purpose comes from helping others grow, teaching, mentoring, parenting, coaching. Seeing others flourish because of your support. The advocate. Purpose comes from fighting for causes, social justice, environmental protection, animal rights. Being a voice for the voiceless. The connector. Purpose comes from bringing people together, building community, facilitating relationships, creating belonging. The seeker. Purpose comes from learning and understanding, research, exploration, mastery. The pursuit of knowledge itself. The healer. Purpose comes from alleviating suffering, medicine, therapy, social work, making things better for those who hurt. The builder. Purpose comes from constructing systems that improve lives, organizations, movements, infrastructure, processes. There's no hierarchy here. A stay-at-home parent nurturing children isn't less purposeful than a CEO building a company. A teacher shaping young minds isn't less important than a doctor saving lives. Purpose is about alignment with your values, not comparison with others. Your purpose history. Here's a powerful truth. You've already experienced purpose, probably many times. You just might not have recognized it. Purpose isn't something you need to import into your life. It's something you need to notice and amplify. Think back to moments when time disappeared because you were so engaged. You felt deeply satisfied regardless of external recognition. You'd have done something even without pay. You felt like you were using your gifts in service of something meaningful. You experienced deep connection to others or to something larger. These moments are clues. They're breadcrumbs leading back to your core values and forward toward purposeful living. Chapter 2. The Distraction Problem. Why we're more distracted than ever. Our great-grandparents worried about where their next meal would come from. We worry about which streaming service to subscribe to. This isn't to diminish modern struggles. It's to highlight that we're facing challenges our biology wasn't designed for. The human brain evolved to solve clear, immediate problems. Find food, avoid predators, reproduce, protect the tribe. When these needs were met, we'd sit around fires telling stories, creating meaning through narrative and connection. Today, our basic needs are mostly met. If you're reading this, you likely have shelter, food, and safety. But instead of using that security as a foundation for meaning-making, we've filled the space with an unprecedented amount of noise. Consider the numbers. Average person checks their phone 150+ times per day. We consume the equivalent of 174 newspapers worth of information daily. Average attention span has dropped from 12 seconds in 2000 to 8 seconds today. We're interrupted every 3 to 5 minutes during work. 47% of the time, our mind is wandering to something other than what we're doing. This isn't happening by accident. It's happening by design. The attention economy. There's a war happening and the battlefield is your mind. Billions of dollars are spent by the world's smartest engineers and psychologists with one goal: capture and monetize your attention. Every app, website, and platform is optimized not for your well-being, but for engagement, which is a euphemism for addiction. They've weaponized psychology. Variable rewards, like slot machines, you scroll not knowing if the next post will be boring or fascinating, creating addictive uncertainty. Social validation. Likes, comments, shares trigger dopamine releases, making your phone literally feel rewarding. FOMO engineering. Notifications create anxiety about missing something important, even when nothing important is happening. Infinite scroll. No natural stopping point, so you keep consuming indefinitely. Algorithmic amplification. Content designed to provoke strong emotion, usually outrage, gets prioritized because it drives engagement. A former Facebook executive admitted, "The short-term, dopamine-driven feedback loops we've created are destroying how society works." A former Google design ethicist said, "Your willpower is not a match for 1,000 engineers on the other side of the screen. This isn't a fair fight, and it's making purposeful living nearly impossible." The cost of constant distraction. Every distraction has a cost and they compound. Fragmented attention means you never go deep enough to do meaningful work or have meaningful thoughts. Constant context switching depletes cognitive resources, leaving you exhausted without accomplishing anything substantial. Comparison culture makes you feel inadequate and unclear about your own values because you're constantly measuring against others' highlight reels. Information overload creates decision paralysis and chronic anxiety. Shallow relationships replace deep connection, leaving you feeling lonely despite constant connection. But the deepest cost is this: distraction prevents the self-reflection necessary to discover purpose. You can't hear your internal compass when there's constant external noise. Think about it. When was the last time you spent an hour in quiet reflection? When did you last have a stretch of uninterrupted time to think deeply about what you want from life? For most people, the answer is, I can't remember. And that's the problem. The busyness trap. Related to distraction is our cultural obsession with busyness. Being busy has become a status symbol, a way to signal importance and value. How are you? Busy? So busy. Crazy busy. We wear exhaustion as a badge of honor. We compete over who slept less, who worked more hours, who has the most packed schedule. But busy isn't the same as purposeful. You can be frantically busy while moving in circles. You can fill every hour and still accomplish nothing meaningful. Consider James, a management consultant who worked 70-hour weeks for years. His calendar was packed from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. He felt important, needed, valuable. Then he had a heart attack at 38. During recovery, forced to slow down, he had a disturbing realization. He couldn't name a single accomplishment from the past 5 years that truly mattered to him. He'd been busy managing other people's businesses while his own life passed him by. His busyness was a sophisticated form of avoidance, staying so occupied that he never had to face the question of what he actually wanted. Busyness can be a refuge from purpose. If you're always in motion, you never have to sit still with uncomfortable questions. If you're always responding to others' urgency, you never have to define your own priorities. Digital minimalism versus intentional living. The solution isn't to throw your phone in the ocean and move to a cabin, though you might want to. The solution is intentionality, being deliberate about what gets your attention and why. This requires 1. Auditing your attention. Where does your time actually go? Track it honestly for a week. How much time on social media? Email? News? Entertainment? Numbing? Compare this to your stated values. If you say family is important but spend more time on Instagram than talking to your kids, there's a misalignment. 2. Creating friction for distractions. Make purposeless activities harder. Delete apps. Use website blockers. Keep your phone in another room. Create speed bumps that give you a chance to choose rather than defaulting to distraction. 3. Protecting space for purpose. Schedule uninterrupted time for what matters. Defend it as fiercely as you defend an important meeting. Because it is an important meeting, with yourself, with your purpose, with what you're building. 4. Designing your environment. Your physical and digital environment shapes your behavior more than you realize. Design it to support purpose, not undermine it. A writer named Rachel eliminated all news apps, social media, and email from her phone. I realized my phone was just an anxiety delivery device, she said. Now it's just a phone. And I'm happier, more focused, and actually writing the book I've been too busy to write for 5 years. Chapter 3. The Values Foundation. Why values matter. You can't build a purposeful life on someone else's foundation. Before you can know what you want to do, you need to know what you value, truly value, not what you think you should value. Values are your core principles, the things that matter most to you, the standards by which you evaluate choices. They're your internal compass. When your daily life aligns with your core values, you feel fulfilled, energized, authentic. When there's misalignment, you feel drained, anxious, inauthentic, even if you're successful by external measures. Think of values as the roots of a tree. Purpose is the fruit. You can't bear fruit without strong roots. Trying to live purposefully without clarifying your values is like trying to build a house without a foundation. Identifying your core values. Most people have never explicitly identified their values. They've inherited them from parents, absorbed them from culture, or never questioned them at all. This exercise will help you get clear. Step 1. Generate your values list. Review this list and mark any that resonate strongly. Achievement, adventure, authenticity, authority, autonomy, balance, beauty, belonging, compassion, competence, contribution, courage, creativity, curiosity, family, freedom, friendship, fun, growth, health, honesty, influence, inner peace, integrity, justice, kindness, knowledge, leadership, learning, love, loyalty, nature, order, pleasure, recognition, security, service, simplicity, spirituality, stability, success, tradition, wealth, wisdom. Don't overthink it. Just mark what genuinely resonates, not what sounds good or what you think you should value. Step 2. Narrow to top 10. From your marked values, select your top 10. This requires hard choices. You might value both security and adventure, but which matters more when they conflict? Step 3. Find your top 5. This is harder. Force yourself to identify your 5 most essential values. These are your non-negotiables, the things you'd fight for, the principles you won't compromise. Step 4. Define what they mean to you. The word success means different things to different people. Same with family, freedom, creativity. Write a personal definition for each of your top 5 values. Example. Freedom, having autonomy over my time and choices, not being dependent on any single source of income, living where I want. Creativity, regularly making new things, experimenting without fear of failure, seeing the world through an artistic lens. Growth, continuously learning, being challenged, becoming a better version of myself each year. Step 5. Test them. Look at your current life through the lens of these values. How much of your time goes toward things aligned with these values? When you feel most fulfilled, which values are being honored? When you feel most drained or frustrated, which values are being violated? What would change if these values truly guided your decisions? The Values Life Audit. Now comes the uncomfortable part, honestly assessing alignment between your values and your life. Create a simple chart with your 5 core values. For each one, rate your current life from 1 to 10 on how well you're honoring that value. If health is a core value but you're rating it a 3, that misalignment is creating internal friction. If creativity matters deeply but your job offers 0 creative outlet and you're not making space for it elsewhere, that's a problem. These gaps aren't reasons for shame, they're opportunities for intentional change. Sarah's example. Her top 5 values: authenticity, creativity, connection, growth, freedom. Her ratings. Authenticity, 4 out of 10, feels like she's performing at work, not being herself. Creativity, 2 out of 10, marketing job is formulaic, hasn't painted in 3 years. Connection, 6 out of 10, good friends but shallow social media relationships dominate. Growth, 7 out of 10, reads a lot, takes courses. Freedom, 3 out of 10, locked into career path she doesn't love, obligated to others' expectations. This audit revealed why she felt unfulfilled despite external success. The life she was living didn't match the values she held. That misalignment was making her miserable. Common values conflicts. You'll discover conflicts. This is normal. Life requires trade-offs. The key is making them consciously. Security versus adventure. You might value both financial security and exciting new experiences. Sometimes these conflict. Conscious choice means deciding which matters more in specific situations and accepting the trade-off. Achievement versus balance. Ambitious goals often require sacrifice. If both achievement and life balance are core values, you need to define what balance actually means to you and set boundaries. Authenticity versus belonging. Being fully yourself sometimes means not fitting in. If both authenticity and belonging matter, you need to find communities that accept you as you are. Freedom versus commitment. Autonomy and deep relationships both require investment. You can't have total freedom and deep commitment simultaneously. Conscious choice about what you're willing to commit to. The goal isn't to eliminate conflicts. It's to be aware of them and make intentional choices rather than defaulting to comfort or others' expectations. Values as your decision filter. Once you're clear on your core values, they become a decision-making framework for everything. Career decisions. Does this job/promotion/opportunity align with my values? Will it move me toward or away from living my values? Relationship decisions. Do the people I spend time with share or support my values? Am I being authentic in these relationships? Time allocation. Is how I spend my days aligned with what matters most? Where am I wasting time on things that don't connect to my values? Financial decisions. Does this purchase support my values? Am I spending money on what matters or what advertising tells me to want? A man named David used his values as a filter when considering a lucrative job offer. His top values included family, health, and creativity. The job would mean 60-plus hour weeks, constant travel, high stress, and zero creative outlet. The money was tempting. His friends told him he'd be crazy to turn it down. But when he ran it through his values filter, the answer was clear. This job would violate 3 of his 5 core values. He declined. 2 years later, in a lower-paying but values-aligned role, he described the decision as the best choice I ever made. Chapter 4. Discovering your unique contribution. The Ikigai framework. There's a Japanese concept called Ikigai, roughly translated as reason for being. It's visualized as the intersection of 4 elements. What you love, your passion. What you're good at, your skills/talents. What the world needs, impact/contribution. What you can be paid for, practical sustainability. Your Ikigai, your purpose sweet spot, lives at the center where all 4 overlap. This framework is powerful because it integrates internal fulfillment with external contribution and practical sustainability. Purpose isn't just about following your bliss, passion alone. It's not just about doing what you're good at, that's just career. It has to include meaning, what the world needs, and sustainability, realistic economics. Let's break down each element. What you love, following your energy. What activities make time disappear? What would you do even if no one paid you? What topics do you read about for fun? What problems do you can't stop thinking about? These aren't always obvious. We've been trained to dismiss our natural interests as not serious or not practical. Emma loved organizing things. As a kid, she'd organize her friends' closets for fun. As an adult, she felt embarrassed by this interest. It seemed trivial compared to important careers like medicine or law. It took years for her to recognize that her love of creating order and systems was valuable. Now she's a professional organizer who helps people with ADHD create functional living spaces. She loves her work and it genuinely helps people. Exercise. Make a list of 20 things you love doing. Don't censor yourself. Include everything from solving complex problems, to making people laugh, to arranging flowers. What you're good at, your natural strengths. You have unique talents, combinations of skills, knowledge, and abilities that come naturally to you but might be challenging for others. The tricky part, we tend to undervalue what comes easily to us. If it's easy for me, it must be easy for everyone, we think. Wrong. Your natural strengths are so integrated into who you are that you might not even recognize them as special. How to identify your strengths? What do others ask for your help with? People naturally seek out what you're good at. What feels like play to you but work to others? This is where passion and skill intersect. What do you pick up quickly? Natural aptitude shows itself in ease of learning. When do you feel in flow? Flow states happen when you're using your strengths optimally. Marcus always found it easy to explain complex technical concepts in simple terms. He didn't think much of it, that's just how his brain worked. Others struggled to follow technical documentation he found crystal clear. It took a colleague saying, "You should teach this stuff. You explain it better than anyone I know," for him to recognize this as a unique strength. Now he creates technical training programs and loves it. Exercise. Ask 10 people who know you well, "What do you think I'm naturally good at?" Their answers will reveal patterns you might not see. What the world needs, finding your contribution. Purpose requires contribution beyond yourself. This doesn't mean you have to solve world hunger, though you might. It means your work addresses some need, solves some problem, makes something better. The world needs many things. More beauty, artists, designers, creators, more connection, community builders, teachers, hosts, more understanding, researchers, writers, explainers, more healing, therapists, doctors, counselors, more efficiency, organizers, engineers, optimizers, more joy, entertainers, chefs, experience creators, more justice, advocates, lawyers, activists, more preservation, environmentalists, archivists, conservationists. What breaks your heart? What injustice infuriates you? What problem do you wish someone would fix? What do you see that others overlook? These emotional responses point toward needs you're wired to care about. Rachel couldn't stop thinking about how many talented kids never pursued their potential because they couldn't afford instruments or lessons. This wasn't just a passing thought, it haunted her. That obsession led her to start a nonprofit providing free music lessons to underserved communities. Her fire was lit by a need she couldn't ignore. Exercise. Complete these sentences. The world would be better if more people. I get angry when I see. If I could fix one problem, it would be. The people who need more support are. What you can be paid for. Practical sustainability. Purpose needs to be sustainable. You can't maintain meaningful work if you can't pay your bills. This doesn't mean you need to monetize your passion directly. It means you need to design a life where you can afford to pursue purpose, either because your purpose generates income or because you've structured your life to require less. Some people find work that perfectly aligns all four ikigai elements. Many people split it, a job that pays bills and maybe uses some strengths, plus passionate purpose work on the side. Both paths are valid. The key is consciousness, knowing what you're doing and why rather than defaulting to what's expected. 3 models. 1. Direct alignment. Your job is your purpose. Teacher who loves teaching, doctor passionate about healing. 2. Split model. Job pays bills, purpose pursued separately, engineer who volunteers coaching youth sports, accountant who writes novels on weekends. 3. Lifestyle design. Minimize expenses, maximize freedom to pursue purpose even if it doesn't pay much. Live simply to afford work you love that pays less. None is superior, they're different strategies for the same goal. Living purposefully. Exercise. List ways your current interests/strengths could generate income. Be creative. The internet has made monetization more possible than ever before. Putting it together, your ikigai map. Draw 4 overlapping circles. Label them, love, good at, world needs, paid for. In each circle, list relevant items from your exercises. Now look for overlaps. What you love plus what you're good at equals passion but might not be useful or viable. What you're good at plus what you can be paid for equals profession but might lack meaning. What you can be paid for plus what the world needs equals vocation, but might feel disconnected from you. What the world needs plus what you love equals mission, but might not be practical. Your ikigai, your purpose sweet spot, lives where all 4 overlap. You might not find a perfect center overlap immediately. That's okay. The framework helps you see what's missing and where to focus your exploration. Chapter 5. Overcoming Fear and Resistance. Why we resist our purpose. You'd think that discovering your purpose would feel purely exciting. Sometimes it does. More often it's terrifying. This is normal. Here's why. Living purposefully requires change. Change means leaving the familiar, even if the familiar is making you miserable. Your brain treats familiar discomfort as safer than unfamiliar possibility. Purpose asks you to be visible. When you're pursuing what matters to you, you're exposed. You might fail. People might judge. That vulnerability is frightening. Purpose challenges your identity. You've built a self-concept around your current life. Changing that feels like losing yourself even if you're becoming a better version. Purpose means letting go of other possibilities. Committing to one path means closing doors to others. That feels like loss. Purpose might disappoint others. Your purpose probably doesn't align with what your parents, spouse, or society expects. That conflict creates guilt and anxiety. The voices of resistance. Pay attention to the internal narratives that arise when you consider living more purposefully. Who am I to? This is imposter syndrome. You believe you're not qualified, talented, or deserving enough to pursue meaningful work. You see others doing similar things and assume they're special while you're ordinary. Truth, Everyone starting out feels underqualified. Expertise comes through doing, not before doing. You don't need permission to pursue what matters to you. It's too late. You're too old, too far behind, too invested in your current path. Starting over feels impossible. Truth, you're not starting from zero. You're starting with all the experience and wisdom you've gained. And too late compared to what? There's no timeline for purposeful living. Colonel Sanders started KFC at 62. Laura Ingalls Wilder published her first book at 64. You have time. It's not practical. This is the voice of fear disguised as reason. It sounds logical. You have bills, responsibilities, dependents. You can't just follow your dreams. Truth, purpose doesn't require recklessness. You can pursue meaning while being responsible. The question isn't quit my job tomorrow or give up on purpose. It's how can I move toward purpose while honoring my commitments? I'll do it when you have more time, money, energy. When the kids are older, when you retire, when things settle down. This is procrastination masquerading as planning. Truth, there will never be a perfect time. Conditions will never be ideal. Waiting for when means never starting. Start now with what you have. What if I fail? This is the big one. Failure feels like it would confirm your worst fears about yourself. Better not to try than to try and fail publicly. Truth, you're already failing to live the life you want, failing to honor what matters to you. That failure is just quieter and more socially acceptable. As for public failure, people are too concerned with their own lives to obsess over yours. The cost of not trying. We focus on the risks of pursuing purpose. But what about the risks of not pursuing it? Reaching 60 or 70 and realizing you spent your one life building someone else's dream. Never knowing what you were capable of because you never tried. Modeling to your children that security matters more than meaning. Dying with your gifts still inside you, unexpressed. Living with the gnawing feeling that you're wasting your potential. These aren't dramatic possibilities, they're the default outcome of choosing comfort over courage. Bronnie Ware, a palliative care nurse, recorded the most common regrets of the dying. The number one regret? I wish I'd had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. Not a single person said, I wish I'd played it safer, or, I wish I'd pursued less meaning and more security. Feel the fear and do it anyway. The secret isn't to eliminate fear, it's to act despite it. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the decision that something matters more than fear. Every person who's living purposefully felt the same fears you're feeling. They didn't have special fearlessness. They just decided their purpose was more important than their comfort. A practice for moving through fear. Name the fear specifically. I'm afraid that. Don't let it stay vague and overwhelming. Make it concrete. Examine the evidence. Is this fear based on real data or catastrophic imagination? Have you actually tried and failed, or are you predicting failure? Plan for the worst case. If your fear came true, what would you do? Having a contingency plan reduces anxiety. Start smaller. If the big leap terrifies you, take a smaller step. Test the waters before diving in. Find models. Who has done what you're contemplating? Study their path. Learn from their experience. Take one scared action. Do one thing that moves you toward purpose despite fear. Then another. Then another. Action builds confidence. Miguel wanted to leave his corporate job to become a therapist. The fear was overwhelming. Years of retraining, massive pay cut. What if he wasn't good at it? What would people think? He didn't quit immediately. He started with one scared action, researching therapy programs. Then another, shadowing a therapist for a day. Then another, taking one evening course while keeping his job. Each small action built confidence and clarity. 2 years later, he was in a graduate program. 3 years after that, he had his own practice. Looking back, he said, the fear never disappeared. I just got better at taking action despite it. Chapter 6. Designing your purposeful life. From clarity to action. You've done the internal work, clarified your values, identified your strengths, explored your ikigai, faced your fears. Now comes the practical question. How do you actually design a life around this? Purpose without action is just philosophy. The goal is to build a daily life that reflects what you've discovered about yourself. The gap between current and ideal. First, assess where you are versus where you want to be. Draw 2 circles. Circle 1. Current life, how you actually spend your time, who you spend it with, what you do for work, how you allocate energy. Circle 2. Purposeful life based on your values and ikigai, what would an aligned life look like? How would you spend your time? What work would you do? How would your days feel? The space between these circles is the design challenge. You can't leap from one to the other overnight, usually, but you can build a bridge. 3 pathways to purpose. Pathway 1. The transformation, radical change. Quit the job, move to a new city, retrain for a new career. This is the dramatic makeover. Best 4. People with few dependencies, high risk tolerance, clear conviction about their purpose. Risks. Financial instability, relationship strain, possibility of regret if rushed. Timeline. 6 months to 3 years for full transition. Pathway 2. The evolution, gradual shift. Keep current situation while building toward purpose on the side. Test, learn, grow. Eventually transition when ready. Best 4. People with significant responsibilities, those still exploring what purpose looks like. Risks. Takes longer, requires discipline to maintain side work, potential burnout from doing both. Timeline. 2 to 5 years for full transition. Pathway 3. The integration, stay in current situation but radically transform how you engage with it. Find purpose within your current role by shifting perspective and priorities. Best 4. People whose current work has potential for meaning if approached differently. Risks. May still feel limited, requires acceptance of trade-offs. Timeline. Immediate shift in mindset, ongoing practice. None is universally better. The right path depends on your specific situation, values, and risk tolerance. The purpose experiment framework. Rather than making permanent, irreversible decisions, approach purpose like a scientist conducting experiments. Step 1. Form a hypothesis. I think I'd find purpose in teaching yoga, or I believe I'd feel more fulfilled working in environmental conservation. Step 2. Design a small test. How can you test this hypothesis without betting your whole life on it? Teach 1 free yoga class to friends. Volunteer with an environmental organization for 3 months. Take a weekend course in the field. Interview 5 people doing the work you're considering. Step 3. Collect data. Pay attention to your energy, engagement, and satisfaction. Not just did I like it, but did it align with my values? Use my strengths? Feel meaningful. Step 4. Evaluate and iterate based on what you learned. Refine your hypothesis and test again. Or pivot to a new hypothesis. This experimental approach reduces risk. You're not making one massive bet. You're gathering data through small, reversible experiments. Sophia thought she wanted to be a full-time writer. Rather than quitting her job, she experimented. Wrote every morning for 3 months, published some pieces online, took a writing workshop, interviewed published authors. The data surprised her. She loved writing but hated the isolation and pressure of deadlines. Through conversation with writers, she discovered many wrote while keeping other jobs. She adjusted her hypothesis. I'd find purpose in regular writing while maintaining other work. This revised approach felt much more aligned. She kept her part-time job, which provided income and social connection, and wrote consistently. 5 years later, she'd published 2 books and was happier than she'd have been as a full-time writer. The 168-hour truth. You have 168 hours each week. How you allocate them is how you allocate your life. Do an honest time audit. 56 hours sleeping, assuming 8 hours per night, 40-50 hours working, 10-15 hours on necessities, eating, hygiene, household. That leaves 60 to 70 hours of discretionary time weekly. Where does it go? For most people, scrolling, watching TV, scattered socializing that isn't fulfilling, procrastinating, recovering from stress. What if you reclaimed even 10 of those hours for purposeful action? 10 hours per week equals 520 hours/year. 520 hours is enough to write a book, build a side business, get very good at a new skill, make significant progress on a meaningful project. You don't need to find time. You need to allocate time differently. The Purpose Time Block Method. Identify your non-negotiable purpose activities based on your values and ikigai. Schedule them first before anything else. Protect them as fiercely as you'd protect a doctor's appointment. Everything else fits around them. When Sarah did this, she blocked 6 to 8 a.m. every morning for creative work, honoring her creativity value. She blocked Sunday afternoons for deep friend connection, honoring her connection value. She blocked Tuesday/Thursday evenings for her art class, honoring both creativity and growth. These blocks were non-negotiable. Everything else, meetings, errands, social obligations, had to work around them. Within 6 months, her fulfillment skyrocketed. She was living her values, not just thinking about them. Creating systems for purpose. Motivation fades. Systems endure. If you want to sustain purposeful living, you need systems that make it automatic. Morning routine that connects you to purpose. Many purposeful people start their day with a ritual that grounds them in what matters. Meditation or reflection. Journaling on gratitude or intentions. Reading something inspiring. Review of values or long-term vision. Movement or exercise. This isn't about rigid rules. It's about intentionally beginning each day connected to what matters rather than immediately reacting to email and demands. Weekly review practice. Set aside 30 to 60 minutes weekly to review how you spent your time versus your values. Celebrate progress toward purpose. Identify misalignments and adjust. Plan the coming week intentionally. This prevents drift. You're consciously steering rather than passively floating. Environment design. Shape your environment to support purpose. Visual reminders of your values, photos, quotes, objects. Remove or hide things that pull you off purpose. Surround yourself with people who support your growth. Create spaces dedicated to purposeful activities. Habit stacking for purpose. Attach new purposeful behaviors to existing habits. After I pour my morning coffee, I'll write in my purpose journal. After lunch, I'll work on my side project for 30 minutes. After putting kids to bed, I'll read something that feeds my growth. The relationships audit. The 5 people you spend the most time with significantly shape your life. Are they supporting your purposeful living or pulling you away from it? This isn't about cutting people out ruthlessly. It's about being conscious of influence. Assess your key relationships. Do they support your growth or keep you small? Challenge you positively or drain you? Share your values or pull you away from them? Encourage your purpose or mock it? You might need to. Spend less time with energy vampires. Seek out new communities aligned with your purpose. Have honest conversations about your changing priorities. Accept that some relationships will fade as you evolve. This can be painful, but it's essential. You can't build a purposeful life while surrounded by people invested in keeping you where you are. The financial reality. Purpose and money have a complicated relationship. Let's address it honestly. The myth. Myth 1. Follow your passion and the money will follow. Sometimes true. Often not. Passion alone doesn't guarantee income. Myth 2. Meaningful work requires sacrifice. False dichotomy. You can do meaningful work that pays well. You can also structure your life so you don't need as much money. Myth 3. I can pursue purpose after I make enough money. The hedonic treadmill means enough keeps moving. People who wait until financial freedom rarely make the jump. The reality? You need money. Bills exist. Responsibilities exist. Ignoring this leads to disaster. But you probably need less than you think. And there are more ways to earn it than you realize. For financial strategies. 1. Reduce expenses to increase freedom. The less you need, the more freedom you have to pursue meaningful work that might pay less. Could you live more simply? Downsize? Eliminate debt? 2. Build a financial runway before making a major change. Build savings that give you 6 to 12 months of freedom to transition or experiment. 3. Develop multiple income streams. Don't rely on one source. Have a main job plus side income. This creates security and flexibility. 4. Invest in skills that increase your value. The more valuable you are in the marketplace, the more options you have. What skills would make you more valuable? Purpose doesn't require poverty. It requires consciousness about the money-meaning relationship and strategic choices about how to balance both. Chapter 7. Sustaining Purpose Long-Term. Why purpose fades, and how to prevent it. Here's what often happens. You do the work. You gain clarity. You make changes. You feel alive, aligned, purposeful. Then, gradually, the fire dims. The daily grind reasserts itself. Distractions creep back in. You find yourself sleepwalking again. This isn't failure. It's entropy. All systems tend toward disorder without active maintenance. Your purposeful life requires ongoing attention. Common ways purpose fades. 1. Success sedation. You achieve initial goals and become comfortable. Comfort is purpose's greatest enemy. 2. Distraction drift. Without vigilance, time wasters creep back into your life. You gradually reallocate purpose time to numbing. 3. Meaning erosion. Work that once felt meaningful becomes routine. You forget why it mattered. 4. Isolation. Without community support, it's hard to maintain momentum. 5. Comparison fatigue. You measure yourself against others and feel you're not doing enough. The purpose renewal practice. Schedule quarterly purpose check-ins. Mark them on your calendar right now. During each check-in, ask alignment questions. Am I living according to my core values? Is my daily life reflecting what matters most? Where have I drifted off course? Energy questions. What's energizing me right now? What's draining me? What needs to change? Growth questions. What have I learned this quarter? How have I evolved? What's my next edge of growth? Gratitude questions. What progress am I celebrating? What am I grateful for? What's working well? This practice prevents drift. You're consciously course-correcting every 90 days rather than waking up 5 years later wondering what happened. Evolution, not perfection. Your purpose will evolve. This is healthy. What lit you up at 25 might not at 45. What felt meaningful before parenthood might shift after. What mattered before loss might change after experiencing it. This doesn't mean you were wrong before. It means you're growing. The point isn't to find one unchanging purpose and rigidly cling to it forever. The point is to stay connected to what's meaningful now and allow that to evolve. Jennifer spent her 30s building a successful consulting business. It was purposeful, she was good at it, it paid well, it helped clients. Then she had kids. Her purpose shifted. She wanted to be more present, less travel, different work-life integration. Rather than seeing this as failure, she recognized it as evolution. She restructured her business, took fewer clients, worked from home. Different expression of purpose, same core values. Purpose community. Isolation kills purpose. Community sustains it. Find people who share your commitment to intentional living, challenge you to grow, celebrate your progress, hold you accountable lovingly. Understand the purpose journey. This might be a mastermind group that meets monthly, an online community around your purpose area, a mentor who's further along, a few close friends on similar paths, a formal program or cohort. Regular connection with purpose-aligned people keeps your fire burning. Their progress inspires you. Their struggles remind you you're not alone. Their feedback helps you see blind spots. The Purpose Journal. Keep a purpose journal, not a daily diary but a space for wins and progress. Document movement toward purpose no matter how small. These accumulate into evidence that you're living differently. Lessons and insights. What are you learning about yourself, your purpose, what works? Gratitude. What are you thankful for on this journey? Challenges. What's hard right now? What support do you need? Recommitment. Regular written recommitment to your purpose, especially when motivation wanes. This creates a record of your journey. On hard days, you can look back and see how far you've come. Dealing with setbacks. You will face setbacks. Projects will fail. People will disappoint you. You'll doubt yourself. External circumstances will disrupt your plans. You'll make mistakes. This is guaranteed. The question is how you respond. Purposeful people don't have fewer setbacks. They interpret them differently. Instead of "I failed, therefore I should quit," they ask, "What can I learn from this? How can I adjust my approach? Is this feedback that I need to pivot or just a temporary obstacle? What support do I need to continue?" Setbacks aren't signs you're on the wrong path. They're part of any path worth taking. Thomas Edison failed thousands of times before creating a working light bulb. When asked about his failures, he said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." That perspective is the difference between resilience and defeat. Protecting your energy. Purpose requires energy. You can't sustain meaningful work if you're constantly depleted. Energy audit. What gives you energy? Certain people, certain activities, certain environments, rest and recovery practices. What depletes your energy? Certain people, even if you love them. Certain obligations, poor boundaries, constant stimulation, lack of sleep. Consciously maximize energy sources and minimize energy drains. This isn't selfish, it's essential. You can't pour from an empty cup. Sarah realized that while she loved her friends, large group social events left her drained for days. As an introvert, she needed alone time to recharge. She started declining most group invites and instead did one-on-one connections. Her friends understood. Her energy improved dramatically. The anti-burnout checklist. Purpose-driven people often burn out because they care so much. Prevent this. Take regular real breaks, days where you completely disconnect, maintain non-purpose activities, play, hobbies, fun for its own sake, set boundaries, say no to good things so you can say yes to great things, sleep enough, consistently 7 to 8 hours, move your body, exercise isn't optional, connect deeply, superficial connection doesn't count, ask for help, don't hero yourself into exhaustion. Chapter 8. Living Your Legacy. The Death Meditation. This might sound morbid, but bear with me. Imagine yourself at 85 looking back on your life. What do you want to have done? What do you want to have been? What do you want to have mattered? Now imagine you're on your deathbed. What would you regret not doing? Not trying? Not expressing? This isn't meant to depress you, it's meant to clarify. When you look at life from the end, trivial concerns fall away. What remains is what truly matters. Steve Jobs said, "Remembering that I'll be dead soon is the most important tool I've ever encountered to help me make the big choices in life. Because almost everything, all external expectations, all pride, all fear of embarrassment or failure, these things just fall away in the face of death, leaving only what is truly important." Defining your legacy. Legacy isn't just for famous people. Every life leaves a legacy. The question is whether it's intentional or accidental. Your legacy is the impact you have on people, the work you do that outlasts you, the values you model, the love you give, the problems you help solve, the beauty you create, the knowledge you share. Legacy questions. How do I want to be remembered by those who love me? What do I want people to say at my funeral? What impact do I want to have on my community/field/world? What would I want to teach my children or Mets? What contribution would make my life feel complete? Write your own eulogy. What would you want it to say? Now live in a way that would make that eulogy true. The ripple effect. You'll never fully know your impact. Acts of kindness ripple outward in ways you can't track. Work you do influences people who influence others. Seeds you plant grow long after you're gone. A teacher named Ruth taught 4th grade for 40 years. She retired feeling like her impact was modest. Just one teacher in one school. At her retirement party, former students showed up. A doctor who said her encouragement made him believe he could succeed. A writer who said she taught him to love reading. A social worker who said Ruth's kindness during his difficult childhood showed him what compassion looked like. Ruth had touched hundreds of lives. Those people touched thousands more. The ripples extended far beyond what she could see. Your purpose might not make headlines. It might not earn awards. But if it matters to you and serves others, it's creating ripples you'll never fully witness. Purpose in parenthood. If you're a parent, your children are watching how you live far more than listening to what you say. Living purposefully teaches them. It's okay to pursue what matters to you. Your values can guide your choices. Work can be meaningful, not just a paycheck. It's never too late to change direction. Courage looks like taking scared action. Authenticity matters more than approval. The greatest gift you can give your children isn't a perfect life. It's the example of someone trying to live authentically and purposefully. The contribution mindset. Shift from what can I get to what can I give? This isn't about self-sacrifice. It's about recognizing that purpose and fulfillment come through contribution. Ask yourself daily, how can I be helpful today? Who needs what I have to offer? What problem can I help solve? How can I make things better? This orientation toward service paradoxically makes your own life more meaningful. You feel needed, valuable, connected to something larger. Purpose in different life stages. 20s to 30s, exploration and foundation. This is prime time for trying things, building skills, discovering what matters. Don't rush to lock in a singular purpose. Explore broadly. 40s to 50s, integration and impact. You have experience, skills, and hopefully, some resources. This is peak time for meaningful contribution. Don't coast, lean in. 60s plus, wisdom and legacy. You have perspective and wisdom younger people lack. Sharing it is purposeful. Mentoring, teaching, preserving knowledge, all valuable. Purpose looks different at different stages, and that's okay. Conclusion, living on fire. The two paths. You stand at a fork in the road. One path is well-worn, comfortable, predictable. It's the path of default living, going through the motions, checking society's boxes, optimizing for security and approval. It's not necessarily bad, but it's not necessarily yours. The other path is less clear. It's the path of intentional living, making choices aligned with your values, pursuing what matters to you, building a life that feels authentic even if it looks unusual to others. It requires more courage, more honesty, more risk. It also offers something the default path can't: the feeling that your life is truly yours. You've been on the default path long enough to know what it offers and what it costs. Now you're considering the other path. This isn't a permanent, irreversible decision. It's a choice you make daily: default or intention, comfort or meaning, drifting or designing. The messy middle. If you choose the intentional path, let me prepare you for reality. It won't be neat or linear. There will be moments of doubt where you question everything. Setbacks that make you want to retreat to comfort. People who don't understand or support your choices. Financial stress and practical challenges. Times when purpose feels distant and you're just surviving. This is normal. This is the messy middle between who you were and who you're becoming. The difference between people who build purposeful lives and those who don't isn't that successful people avoid the messy middle, it's that they keep going through it. The permission you're waiting for. You don't need anyone's permission to live purposefully. Not your parents' permission. Not your partner's permission. Not society's permission. Not even your own rational mind's permission. You already have everything you need. The right to make choices about your own life. Values worth honoring. Unique gifts worth sharing. One precious life worth living intentionally. If you're waiting for the perfect moment to start, stop. The perfect moment is now, imperfect as it is. If you're waiting to feel ready, stop. You'll never feel fully ready. Readiness comes through action, not before it. If you're waiting for certainty, stop. Purposeful living requires walking into uncertainty with nothing but commitment to what matters. Starting today. You don't need to have everything figured out. You don't need a complete plan. You just need to take one step toward purpose. That step might be having an honest conversation about what's not working. Blocking 2 hours this week for purposeful work. Saying no to something that drains you. Signing up for a class in something you're curious about. Reaching out to someone doing work you admire. Writing in a journal about what you actually want. One step, then another, then another. That's how purposeful lives are built, not through one dramatic decision, but through thousands of small, brave choices. The Fire Within. This book's title is Find Your Fire. But here's the truth, the fire isn't lost. It's not hiding somewhere waiting to be discovered like an Easter egg. The fire is already in you. It always has been. You felt it as a child when you played for hours doing what you loved. You feel it now in those rare moments when you're fully engaged in something that matters. You feel it when you think about problems you wish you could solve or work you wish you could do. The fire didn't go out. It just got buried under years of shoulds, fears, distractions, and other people's expectations. Your job isn't to find the fire. It's to clear away everything that's covering it. To remove the layers of what you think you should want, what you're afraid to want, What you've been told is practical or realistic. What you think others expect from you. Beneath all that, your fire is burning. It's been waiting. It's ready. Your one wild and precious life. Mary Oliver asked, "Tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life?" This is the essential question. Not what will you achieve, acquire, or accomplish, but what will you do with this singular, unrepeatable, limited time you've been given? Will you spend it on someone else's agenda? Will you numb yourself through distraction? Will you let fear make your decisions? Will you wait for perfect conditions that never come? Or will you claim this life as yours? Will you live according to your values? Will you pursue what makes you come alive? Will you contribute what only you can contribute? Will you die knowing you at least tried to live the life that was yours to live? The invitation. This book is an invitation to stop sleepwalking through your one precious life. To stop optimizing for safety and start optimizing for meaning. To stop asking what will people think, and start asking what do I think? To stop deferring your dreams and start taking scared action toward them. To stop performing someone else's script and start writing your own. Living with purpose won't solve all your problems. You'll still face challenges, disappointments, pain. But you'll face them as yourself, doing work that matters to you, aligned with values you've chosen. That makes all the difference. The beginning. This isn't the end of a book. It's the beginning of your journey from distraction to intention, from default to design, from going through the motions to living on fire. You have everything you need. You know more than you think you do. You're capable of more than you believe. The world needs what you have to offer. Not some perfect, polished version of you. You as you are, with your unique combination of gifts, experiences, and values. Start today. Start small. Start scared. Just start. Find your fire. Then tend it carefully. Let it light your way. Share its warmth with others. Your purposeful life is waiting. It's been waiting for you to choose it. Choose it now.